Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sannavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Swati Devi Vani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sannavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Radha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
You could have got it.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Aya Prabhupada 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 Hare Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Jai Gaura Hari Bo Hari Bo Shri Hari Naam Sankirtan Yagi ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hare Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much. And devotees are joining.
So there are many now. Thank you very much for kindly agreeing to give class on this nice subject, developing a loving relationship with devotees. So for the information of everyone, Maharaj actually came to ISKCON Manchester many years ago. So that time Maharaj was known as Uttama Shloka Prabhu, and he did a presentation on Bhagavad Gita crash course, and he really impressed everyone. We still have sweet memories of that, and Maharaj is very fluent in Russia and speaks English. He's a scholar and an excellent sweet speaker. So we're looking forward to hearing from you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. And if you have any questions, devotees, please type in or leave it until end, then we can ask all the questions at the end. So then the flow won't be interrupted.
Yeah, I think better to put it on chat immediately, and then we can address them.
We can discuss at the end. So over to you, Maharaj. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All right, Hare Krishna. It's wonderful to meet everyone, at least online, if not offline. So hopefully my next visit to Manchester will be offline again. So we can, have it timed on offline, online, offline, like that. So yes, very important topic. Thank you for your interest in it. And we will read one of the very important verses Srila Prabhupada gave us on the subject, and previous acharyas gave us on the subject. And so before doing that, we will offer our prayers to the spiritual masters, Vaishnavas, and the Supreme Lord. Om Gyantamirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksharan Miritam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhai Mahaturema Pura Vibhur Nirmay Kshatriya Ramusha Purusha Tungta Ganan Sadasa Sadasatmakai Lankrishista Bhagavan Vacham Sime Hare Krishna. So this is very important topic, loving relationships among the devotees, and it is explained very nicely and very specifically in Nectar of Instruction, which is the scripture compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami on the basis of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we'll be looking into the verse number 4. And incidentally, it's very interesting to note that when Krishna consciousness appeared in Britain first, there was some kind of concern from the government. What is this new thing? And how will that reflect on our country, whether it is something dangerous or not? So we need to figure it out. And the British Secret Services, they have decided to study all Prabhupada's books in order to understand a little bit better what is Krishna consciousness. And they have concluded, after such a thorough research, that the book which gives the essence of Krishna consciousness in a nutshell is Nectar of Instruction. So it's really important book for all of us, and they are right, because according to our tradition, Srila Prabhupada explains that nectar of instruction is very short, only 11 verses. But these 11 verses are practically as important to us as the 8 verses left by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, known as Shikshashtakam verses. And so today we'll be reading from verse number 4. And if you like, we could share that on the screen as well. Yeah? Should we?
Sure, Maharaj. Would I make you co-host? Would you like to share? Shall I share?
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, whatever you prefer.
I'll make you co-host. Just one second.
Okay.
Yes, Maharaj, you will be able to.
Thank you. Oops, no, yeah. So this is text number 4 of Nectar of Instruction, which very specifically explains what does it mean to develop loving relationship between the devotees. Dadati prati grihnati gukyamakyati prichati bhunte vajayate chaiva sadvidam priti lakshanam. Translation: offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Purport. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami explains how to perform devotional activities in the association of other devotees. There are 6 kinds of activities. 1, giving charity to the devotees. 2, accepting from the devotees whatever they may offer in return. 3, opening one's mind to the devotees. 4, inquiring from them about the confidential service of the Lord. 5, honoring prasad, or spiritual food given by the devotees. And 6, feeding the devotees with prasad. An experienced devotee explains, and an inexperienced devotee learns from him. This is Guhyam Apyati Prichet. When a devotee distributes prasad, remnants of food offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to maintain our spirit of devotional service, we must accept this prasad as the Lord's grace received through the pure devotees. We should also invite pure devotees to our home, offer them prasad, and be prepared to please them in all respects. This is called Bhunte Pojayate Chaiva. Even in ordinary social activities, these 6 types of dealings between 2 loving friends are absolutely necessary. For instance, when one businessman wishes to contact another businessman, he arranges a feast in a hotel and over the feast openly expresses what he wishes to do. He then inquires from his business friend how he should act, and sometimes presents are exchanged. Thus, whenever there is a dealing of priti, of love, or in intimate dealings, these 6 activities are executed. In a previous verse, Srila Rupa Goswami advised that one should renounce worldly association and keep company with the devotees, Sangha Tyaga Satovrite. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been established to facilitate these 6 kinds of loving exchanges between devotees. I think this is really important, right? Why ISKCON was established to facilitate these 6 kinds of exchanges between devotees. So, yeah, I mean, Prabhupada emphasizes this topic highly because sometimes, there is a mentality that I came to develop my love towards Krishna, why do I have to develop loving relationships with devotees? But Srila Prabhupada said, love me, love my dog. That's the common understanding. And if our aspiration is to ever go back home, back to Godhead, can you imagine spiritual world deprived of devotees. So it's not possible, right? Because Krishna means devotees, and if we want to develop our love for Krishna, we need to develop our love towards Krishna's devotees. Otherwise, loving Krishna and ignoring devotees or hating devotees or abusing devotees, that doesn't go hand in hand. So loving devotees is the only possible option for us. And Krishna Mad Bhakta Puja Vyadika in the Bhagavatam, that actually the highest service to me is to serve my devotees. So Srila Prabhupada explains this society was started single-handedly, but because people are coming forward and dealing with the give and take policy, the society is now expanding all over the world. We're glad that people are donating very liberally to the development of the society's activities. And people are also eagerly accepting whatever humble contribution we're giving them in the shape of books and magazines dealing strictly with the consciousness. We sometimes call Hare Krishna festivals and invite like members and friends to participate in a feasting by accepting prasad. Although most of our members come from the higher rounds of society, they nonetheless come and take whatever little prasad we're able to offer them. Sometimes the members and supporters inquire very confidentially about the methods of performing devotional service, and we try to explain this. In this way, our society is successfully spreading all over the world, and the intelligentsia of all countries is gradually appreciating our Krishna conscious activities. The life of the Krishna conscious society is nourished by these 6 types of loving exchange among the members. Therefore, people must be given the chance to associate with the devotees of ISKCON, because simply by reciprocating in the 6 ways mentioned above, an ordinary man can fully revive his dormant Krishna consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita 262, it is stated, Sangat Sanjayate Kama, one's desires and ambitions develop according to the company one keeps. It is often said that a man is known by his company, and if an ordinary man associates with devotees, he will certainly develop his dormant Krishna consciousness. The understanding of Krishna consciousness is innate in every living entity, and it's already developed to some extent when the living entity takes a human body. It is said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nitisida Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi, Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte. Pure love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of living entities. It's not something to be gained from another source. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, the living entity naturally awakens. Since Krishna consciousness is inherent in every living entity, everyone should be given a chance to hear about Krishna. Simply by hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam, one's heart is directly purified, and one's original Krishna consciousness is immediately awakened. Krishna consciousness is not artificially imposed upon the heart, it's already there. When one chants the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the heart is cleansed of all mundane contamination. In the first stanza of his Shikshastaka, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Chatudarpanamarjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam Tya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Ananda Mudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadhanam Sarvatma Snapadam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It's the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. So, Krishna consciousness is for everyone, and if we want to attract people to Krishna, People are attracted not by so much by philosophy. I mean, people can be attracted by philosophy, but they will just take Prabhupada's books and study philosophy on their own. And that can develop them to some extent. The first stage in Krishna conscious development is called Shraddha, faith, right? So by reading Prabhupada's books, people can develop faith because it's very logical, it's very convincing. But in order to advance further, one has to associate with devotees, sadhu sangha. Without devotee association, it's not really possible to advance. That's why Prabhupada says in Mantra, if someone is thinking that one can advance without the association with devotees, this kind of understanding is nothing but hallucination, right? It's not real understanding. It's not possible to advance without association with devotees, because devotees are the ones who can guide us in our practical devotional service. That's called bhajana kriya. And when we practice Krishna consciousness under the guidance of the devotees, then our hearts become pure, vritti. And without purification of the heart, we cannot really become Krishna conscious. But if our hearts are purified, then we can establish ourselves very firmly. It's called nishtha, and develop taste and attachment to Krishna. And ultimately, we want to develop love for Krishna. So devotee association is very, very important. That's why all the scriptures are always explained, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, sadhu sangha, sarva shastraka, lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhihai. So in order to inspire people to associate with devotees, it's very important that we have loving relationship among the devotees, because we can see that if devotees have very nice relationship amongst each other, then people automatically are attracted. And on the other hand, the biggest disappointment with the movement is when devotees don't have good relationship between each other, or they have very serious differences, right? And they fight over those differences. Then people think, okay, if these people who are practicing this thing for many years, they cannot even get over their own differences, they still quarrel with each other, right? That means they're not really spiritually advanced. And why should I take up the process? I don't want to end up like these people, so better I go away. And so unfortunately, by not having loving relationship with devotees, we are discouraging not just new people, but even the existing devotees become discouraged. So this way we can understand that it's the most important thing to have nice relationship with devotees to enable us to advance spiritually and encourage other people as well, right? So there is no other way around. It has to be there. So let's go on. Not only is the chanter of the Maha Mantra purified, but the heart of anyone who happens to hear the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare is also cleansed. Even the souls embodied in lower animals, insects, trees, and other species of life also become purified and prepared to become fully Krishna conscious simply by hearing the transcendental vibration. This was explained by Thakur Haridas when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired from him, how living entities lower than human beings can be delivered from material bondage. Haridas Thakur said that the chanting of the holy names is so powerful that even if one chants in the remotest parts of the jungle, the trees and animals will advance in Krishna consciousness simply by hearing the vibration. This was actually proven by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself when he passed through the forest of Jarikanda. At that time, the tigers, snakes, deer, and all other animals abandoned their natural animosity and began chanting and dancing in Sankirtan. Of course, we cannot imitate the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we should follow in his footsteps. We are not powerful enough to enchant the lower animals such as tigers, snakes, cats, and dogs or entice them to dance, but the chanting the holy names of the Lord. But by the chanting the holy names of the Lord, we can actually convert many people throughout the world to Krishna consciousness. Contributing or distributing the holy name of the Lord is a sublime example of contributing or spreading the Advaita principle. By the same token, one must also follow the Pratigrinati principle and be willing to ready to receive the transcendental gift. One should inquire about the Krishna consciousness movement and open his mind in order to understand the situation of this material world. Thus, the Guhyama Kyati Prachati principles can be served. So this is very important. Srila Prabhupada, following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, went to the concrete jungles of the Western world and converted so many animal-like people into Krishna consciousness. One episode when Srila Prabhupada just started his movement, he was invited to different places to preach. Devotees were organizing preaching engagements for him. So one of those engagements in the early years was visit to the Morning Star Ranch, where there was a nudist community. Means people were living completely naked, like animals. Animals, they don't wear any clothing. So these people, they were not wearing any clothing either. So of course, for Srila Prabhupada, it was really strange experience, go into, the community of completely naked people. But he realized there is a potential because the idea behind them, living naked like that, like Western version of Naga Babas, the idea behind was to renounce this world, right? Because the hippie philosophy and culture was very prominent, prevailing in the Western world at the time. Actually, Prabhupada said the only good quality of hippies is their idea of renunciation, renouncing, right, this world. And then, but these people, they lived like animals because even though they renounced their clothing, but they never renounced illicit sex, they never renounced drugs, right? It was just new type of sense gratification for them. They were trying to enjoy also materially, but little bit different from the rest of the society, and they were very proud of that. So anyway, Srila Prabhupada went there and he started preaching, and because he had the spiritual powers, very quickly he was converting all these people, making them into devotees. One of them, one Prabhupada disciple, remembers how he was doing some work in his garden and he was totally naked, and Prabhupada was passing by and he looked at him and he said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm doing gardening." But Prabhupada said, "No, what are you doing with your life? Looks like you're wasting your life." He said, "Yeah, possible." He said, "You should, instead of wasting your life, you should join us." And then he joined and he became a devotee. And actually, from this one visit, this is the power of Srila Prabhupada, right? Prabhupada speaks about humbly speaks about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here, and not, because Prabhupada is such a humble Vaishnava, he is not promoting himself, but his powers were not less astonishing than the powers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He could exhibit by his mercy. And in one go, he converted 5 or 6 people. He encouraged 5 or 6 young men to join. We don't know if there were ladies as well, but amongst them were such stalwarts like Tamal Krishna Goswami and Vishnu Jan Swami and few other devotees who contributed so seriously to the development of Krishna consciousness, just came from this one visit, Srila Prabhupada's visit to the Morning Star Ranch. But actually, what attracted people to Srila Prabhupada so much was a simple fact that he was highly Krishna conscious. And what does it mean to be Krishna conscious? That's a very important question for all of us to contemplate. At one point, one of Prabhupada's disciples, he asked them, Srila Prabhupada, it's very surprising that everyone loves you so much. Why is that? And Prabhupada said, it's very simple, because I love everyone. That's why everyone loves me. And this was the most attractive thing, that people had no idea who is Srila Prabhupada, what's this Krishna consciousness. They knew absolutely nothing. They were asking him, what is this, thing over your shoulder, when Prabhupada was sitting bare chest, right? And Prabhupada said, this is Brahman thread, and it is the indication that I have a spiritual master. People knew absolutely nothing. They didn't know who is Brahmana, who is Guru, who is Krishna. Why did they become attracted to Krishna consciousness? Because of Srila Prabhupada. And why Srila Prabhupada was so attracting? Because he loved everyone. And why he loved everyone? Because he could see that all these people are parts and particles of Krishna. And this kind of attitude, that many times Prabhupada disciples, in their memories, they say that the kind of love we've got from Srila Prabhupada, we never got from anyone, even our own parents, right? So, and we can see that this love, Srila Prabhupada's love, was manifesting in very practical ways. He was not like just saying, oh, I love you, love you, love you so much. No, he was showing love by action, right? Love is meant to be shown by action rather than by words. So Srila Prabhupada sacrificed in his age. He was over 70. He actually turned 70 when he stepped on American soil. And at such an advanced age, he was actually serving selflessly his early, followers. In one very powerful article about, secrets of successful entrepreneurship, it's explained that one of the key elements is to invest in your team, right? And it's recommended 10% should be invested into people, into your team. But Srila Prabhupada showed an example, not just 10%, not just 50%, not even 100%. He was investing more than 100%. We might say how it is possible to invest more than 100%. Because Srila Prabhupada was giving something he didn't even have. Like he would organize Sunday feast, invite people, but he would not have money to buy products and prepare the feast. So before the program, he would go out and sell his own books to get enough money to buy products, and then he would cook himself, and then he would serve with his own hands. And I mean, we can only imagine, prasadam personally served, cooked by Srila Prabhupada, like one of his early disciples. He was giving class in Vrindavan, and he asked us a question that, how many of you had a good fortune to taste what Srila Prabhupada cooked? And of course, there were very few people. And he said, I was so fortunate that Srila Prabhupada fed me with his own hands so many times. And so, yes, not only he was feeding his, early followers, but he was even cleaning after them. One time, Srila Prabhupada was giving class, a rather public speech, and he was explaining the Varnashram system, that the best people are Brahmanas, because they are giving spiritual knowledge, and the bottom level of human society is those who serve others, those who work for others, working for salary, which is majority. And then at the end of the talk, one man, he said, you're giving us spiritual knowledge, so, and from your talk we can come to the conclusion that you are the Brahmana, you are the first class man, right? And because we're working, we're the fourth class people, the worst people. So this is what you are indicating, that you are the best and we are, the bottom level. And Prabhupada said, no, actually, I have no claims, because I am not even what to speak of the first class. I'm not even the fourth class. I actually belong to the fifth class, because I serve those who belong to the fourth class. So I serve the people who are at the bottom of the society, right? I'm their servant, which was true. He was not making it up. He was saying as it was. And so, yeah, because of his love, otherwise, what business he had to go to such a degraded place. I mean, in New York, he was first living in Bowery, right? And Bowery is like the worst place, even though it's technically part of Manhattan, but it's very degraded, full of drug addicts and alcoholics. And Prabhupada, coming from such an aristocratic background, he was serving such degraded people. Like sometimes he would, after he finally moved to the Second Avenue, little better position, and he was giving class, some people were drunk and they would like fall on the ground outside and fall asleep. And Prabhupada would see the drunk and he would tell his disciples, take this man and take him by hands and legs and bring him into here and let him sleep in here while the class is going on. And devotees were confused, Prabhupada, what's the use? He's completely drunk. Why do we need to bother about this person? And Prabhupada said, well, the body is drunk, but the soul will benefit from the transcendental vibrations. So bring them in, like that. So Prabhupada was so compassionate. And so it's really important to understand how Krishna consciousness manifests. That actually one of our present-day spiritual masters, Srila Satchidananda Maharaj, says that love for Krishna manifests through compassion to those people who are bereft of it. And actually, Narad Muni, in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, gives instructions to Dhruva Maharaj, and he explains the best conduct is to have perfect relationship with others. And he explains that perfect relationship means we glorify and serve those who are higher than us, who are better than us. We make friendship with those who are on equal level, and we show kindness and compassion who are less fortunate than us. And he says, if someone follows this very powerful formula, one will become free from all the miseries, from threefold miseries of material existence, right? So it's very simple. If we want to become free from miseries, this is what we need to adopt. And Srila Prabhupada explains in the purpose that unfortunately, people follow the opposite thing, right? Instead of showing kindness and compassion to those who are less than them, they exploit subordinates or juniors. They brag or compete with those who are on equal level, and they envy, they have very strong jealousy and desire to bring down those who are higher, right? And this is how they cause themselves untold miseries, life after life. So that's very, very important to understand how loving relationships with others, especially with devotees. But here, Srila Prabhupada says that, everyone need to see the Krishna Prema Sadhika Bunoi. Everyone is potentially a devotee because every soul is connected to Krishna. And we can bring that devotion out if we become Krishna conscious, which means we develop our love not just for Krishna, but for others as well. And how do we show this love? In the same way as Srila Prabhupada showed his love, right? So hopefully that makes little sense, and we'll continue reading Srila Prabhupada's purport. The members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness invite the Society's members and supporters to dine with them when they hold love feasts in all their branches every Sunday. Many interested people come to honor Prasad, and whenever possible, they invite members of the Society to their homes and feed them sumptuously with Prasad. In this way, both the members of the Society and the general public are benefited. So-called yogis, jnanis, karmis, and philanthropists, because their association can benefit no one. If one really wants to attain the goal of human life, he should associate with devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement, because it's the only movement that teaches one how to develop love of God. Religion is the special function of human society, and it constitutes the distinction between human society and animal society. So this is really important, that if we want to encourage people to develop love of God, first we need to have love of God. And if we have love of God, we'll have love towards others as well. So animal society has no church, mosque, or religious system in all parts of the world. However, downtrodden human society may be, there is some system of religion. Even tribal aborigines in the jungles also have a system of religion. When a religious system develops and turns into love of God, it is successful. As stated in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 1-6, Savaipum Samparo Dharmo, Yato Bhakti Radukshajaya Haitukya Pratyahata Yatma Suprasidati. The supreme occupation, Dharma for all humanity, is that by which man can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. If the members of human society actually want peace of mind, tranquility, and friendly relations between men and nations, they must follow the Krishna conscious system of religion, by which they can develop their dormant love for Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As soon as people do so, their minds will immediately be filled with peace and tranquility. It's really important that if we develop loving relationship between the devotees, then we can teach the entire society how to live in love and harmony with each other, right? Because we cannot really give anyone what we don't have. And these are the methods, practical methods. How can we share Krishna's love with everyone? And so giving gifts, accepting gifts, sharing something confidential, listening to something confidential, and giving and accepting prasadam. And analytically speaking, I think our society, especially here in UK, we have done really well in terms of giving and taking prasadam, right? UK, Britain is not like Burundi. I don't know how many of you heard of this country. This is one of the poorest countries on the planet. More than half of the population is like going to their beds every night starving. Can you imagine? People have nothing to eat. More than a third of the children are chronically malnourished. So, Britain has much better karma. So, and especially in ISKCON, even if you want to like take less, then it's a challenge, right? Because prasadam is everywhere. So I think in terms of prasadam, giving and taking prasadam, we really excel, right? So we can tick that box. Then in terms of giving gifts and receiving gifts, well, something is happening. It's true. Even though sometimes, like I come from Russia originally, and in Russia we joke that only on your birthday you can realize how many useless things exist in the world, right? Because the kind of gifts people giving to you are of no use, so useless gifts. So of course, and sometimes you come across things like some congregation member calls the temple and he says, I have this fridge I don't need, and I'm thinking rather than chucking it out, maybe I should give it to the temple, give to the temple something you don't need, some rubbish or something. So something which is not even working properly. So this kind of ideas, are there. I mean, giving gifts, receiving gifts. I mean, the easiest way of giving something person definitely will use, will need, is just, giving donation. But yeah, something is happening, but definitely it's not as good as giving and taking prasadam, right? Because everybody kind of knows about it, but not many devotees follow, right? I know it from my own experience that there are plenty of requests for classes, engagements, etc. But there are very, very few devotees who are thinking of, reciprocating. So that's why we're saying it's not a hit but it's just a fact. I'm sure that I'm not the only one who experiences that. Yeah, so we have some room for improvement in this way, in this sense, even though it's like so interesting that um, actually our prosperity level does not, according to Shastra, according to what Prabhupada explains, does not really depend on how hard we are working, or even does not depend on how smart we are. Our prosperity level depends on one thing only: how much we gave in charity before, right? So because the flowing river is always fresh, right? And so the more we give, the more we get. And the more we get, the more we can give. But at some point, greed kicks in, right? And I start thinking, okay, I've got a lot, so I don't need to give anyone anymore. I can just enjoy. So unfortunately, it's there. So yes, prasadam, like 100%, we can tick the box. Charity, 30, 40% maybe at best. So something to work on. But in terms of guhyama kyati prichati, and it's interesting, confidential, something confidential. I'm not exactly sure how much we succeed with it, because oftentimes sometimes it happens that one devotee tells another devotee something confidential about his maybe difficulties in Krishna consciousness or doubts in Krishna consciousness or whatever is there, and next day this confidential thing is all over social networks, right? And unfortunately, it's not very uncommon. And we can imagine, if it happens to the person once, then how much trust one will have towards the devotees. And if someone will not be able to trust the devotees, one will not be able to open their minds to the devotees, how is it possible to advance in Krishna consciousness, right? So I think this is the most neglected area in terms of loving relationships with devotees, right? And very interesting what Srila Prabhupada on the subject. In this regard, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur warns all devotees engaged in broadcasting the Krishna consciousness movement not to speak to the impersonalist Mayavadis who are always determined to oppose such theistic movements. The world is full of Mayavadis and atheists, and the political parties of the world take advantage of Mayavad and other atheistic philosophies to promote materialism. Sometimes they even back a strong party to oppose the Krishna consciousness movement. The Mayavadis and other atheists do not want the Krishna consciousness movement to develop because it educates people in God consciousness. Such is the policy of the atheists. There is no benefit in feeding a snake milk and bananas because the snake will never be satisfied. On the contrary, by taking milk and bananas, the snake simply becomes more poisonous. Kevalam visha vardhanam. If a snake is given milk to drink, its poison simply increases. For a similar reason, we should not disclose our minds to the serpent, Mayavadis, and Karmis. Such disclosures will never help. It is best to avoid association with them completely and never ask them about anything confidential because they cannot give good advice. Yeah, so we should be very, very careful about this. Of course, okay, let's finish reading and then I have something to say. Nor should we extend invitations to Mayavadis and atheists, nor accept their invitations, for by such intimate intermingling we may become affected by their atheistic mentality, Sangats and Jayate Kamaha. It is the negative injunction in this verse that we should refrain from giving anything or to or accept Mayavadis and atheists. By eating food prepared by worldly people, one's mind becomes wicked. Unless one is very advanced, he is unable to utilize everyone's contribution to further the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, on principle, one should not accept charity from the Mayavadis or atheists. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has forbidden devotees to associate even with ordinary men who are too addicted to material sense gratification. So this is very important because sometimes we might get confused. Srila Prabhupada speaks about Mayavadis so much about in his books, and Mayavadis are like the worst people, etc. And Brahmananda Prabhu, the late Brahmananda Prabhu, one of the first Prabhupada disciples, he shared that one time asking Prabhupada, you're speaking so much about Mayavadis, but they are not so common in the Western world. And Prabhupada said, you are also Mayavadis, which indicated that, this tendency is there. And actually, he was not necessarily speaking about the Shankara Acharya followers as such. He was talking about the mentality, which is very interesting because sometimes some people who are official Mayavadis belong to Shankara Sampradaya. They can be very friendly with devotees and they can do a lot of service. Like in Fiji, one very, very prominent Mayavadi leader, he's practically the head of the Mayavadis there. And he's so friendly with devotees, he bought all Prabhupada's books. He was giving financial contribution. He was endorsing because, he had influence. He was endorsing the devotees in all respects, supporting them, in their dealing with the governments, etc., etc. So he has done tons of services. And yet he is the Shankaracharya follower. And devotees, they developed the kind of, open relationship with him, and they were asking, you've read Prabhupada's books, and so Prabhupada, speaks so badly about Mayavadis in his books, and you're supporting us, so how come? And this man said, Srila Prabhupada is totally right. We have so many idiots amongst Mayavadis. So, he's a sincere man. He knows what it is. He knows about all these problems. So, he's totally on Srila Prabhupada's side, and that's why he was supporting. So we can see that it's not black and white, that even amongst Mayavadis, there are many sincere people. And that's why Lord Chaitanya took sannyas from Mayavad Sampradaya, from Shankar Sampradaya, because Prakashananda Saraswati, Sarvabhaumatacharya, and many others from their Sampradaya, they became devotees because they were sincere. But here, when Srila Prabhupada speaks about Mayavadis, he speaks about the particular mentality of being envious towards Krishna and envious towards the devotional service. And it manifests in many ways, in many people. And the danger of associating with such people, unfortunately, the history proved itself. Sometimes it happens that devotees, due to some unfortunate circumstances, they leave the association with devotees and they stop practicing Krishna consciousness. So it happened to two disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And this is what Ravindra Swarup Prabhu explained. And it's a very, powerful, even though horrific illustration of the danger of opening our hearts and minds to the vicious people. So these disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they dropped their association with devotees and spiritual practices And so they tried to live like ordinary, mundane people. But it's like the late Shruti Dharma Prabhu says, it's not really possible to leave Krishna or mafia because we know too much, right? So because they knew too much that what is the result of sense gratification, they could not peacefully enjoy themselves in the material world. And they had this, like really big challenge. They did not practice Krishna consciousness, but they could not enjoy the material world. And they were like really struggling with it. And they have decided to go to one psychologist. And among psychologists, some are believing in God and they are really good people and they are people in goodness, so they can actually help. Even some devotees, they use that help. But unfortunately, the like attracts like these two Prabhupada disciples, they've chosen the most materialistic and atheistic psychologist they could ever find. And they went to him and they told him about their difficulty and how can they enjoy in the material world. And he spoke to them and he said, well, I understood that there is one thing which prevents you from enjoying, that you still think of your spiritual master very positively. And because you think about him very positively, you cannot peacefully transgress his instructions. And the way out of it is to criticize and, blaspheme your guru at every single opportunity as much as you can, so that you can completely destroy all the traces of respect towards him. Can you imagine of more demoniac advice than that? So, but this is what Srila Prabhupada warns about. At least they had some joy, some chance of consciousness, but they went to